So if you go out and do this, and I have a back-end office map of all the locations. So I mean, you can go, and people should be updating where they're putting stuff at. If you go and do it, dentists, doctors, assisted livings, they all have people coming in on a daily basis, new, different people coming in on a daily basis to see their service. How often do you see the doctor? Maybe every 6 months? So there's always people coming in. How often do you see the dentist? Once a year? 6 months? Assisted living, how often do you move into assisted living? Once? So if you make friends with an assisted living, they hold 100 people, and that assisted living is giving you 1 or 2 a week, to, 4 to 5 to 10 a month, one building. That's really good. So you get a doctor or a dentist giving you, 1 or 2 a week, 5 to 10 a month. That's really good. That's really good. 10 a month is, on average, is really good for a new agent. If you can find referral sources that are feeding you, because you go in there and stop in every week, then how many referral sources do you need to hit that 300 cases a year mark, 100,000 a year? So how many is that? You only need 333 divided by 12, 28. What's 330? Well, 300 is 90,000 a year. So what's 300 divided by 12? Quick math.
300 divided by 12?
What's 108?
Roughly 25, yeah.
So okay, so 25?
Yeah, 20.
So 25 a month. So what is that that's 1 a day, roughly? So that's 5 a week.
Okay.
Right? So if you have 5 referral sources feeding you 1 a week, that's 5 a week.
Okay.
So it's 25 a month, that's 300 a year. That's $90,000 a year, every year. All you have to do is stop in and say hi to these places. Now, on the same side, you're talking to on the assisted side, you're talking to the providers or your clients, and you're letting them know what you do. You do pre-arrangements. In the assisted living world, they're supposed to have that in place when they move into an assisted living. So we have a default form that we give out to assisted living homes. Hey, if some people haven't, put this in your onboarding packet. Yeah.
If somebody's already in assisted living, are we able to sell them a better plan if they're already working? I've never.
Well, you find out, you get their information, you put it in Spark, you figure out their income, when they moved in, and what plan they are, their doctors, and their drugs. And then you circle back and we'll sit down and find a special election period that's still available to them during the year for living in assisted living. So don't ever say no, just say, yes, let me look into that.
Okay.
So moving into an assisted living, we have this default form, right? So you put in their onboarding. If they have a funeral in place, write it in so you have it in your onboard. Everybody has a book in assisted living, has a binder of all their information. So if they don't, then Red Mountain Funeral Home would become the default funeral home. So that's what we give out. So at that point, as another arrow in their quiver, if they don't have their funeral information picked out, we can set that up ahead of time now, pay for it and get it out of the way. So now you can get a pre-need out of this. Probably a one-time cremation or whatever, but if you roll into the pre-need talk to the adult children that are putting them in, so there's probably a husband and wife right there, maybe some other siblings. Right. You help them, their parents with their Medicare, make sure they're covered for their assisted living so they don't need to come back to you for anything, for them, their kids. And then you help them with their pre-need. Now you're talking to the adult children about pre-need. So you can talk to them about their pre-need too, because they probably don't have anything in place. Right?
Yeah, of course.
So now you have leads. Now you have leads and people are generally 20 years less than their parents in age.
Okay.
So they're moving in assisted living, late 70s, 80s, 50s, 60s.
Which is our target.
Which is our target for everything.
Yeah.
Right? Turning 65, you get $600 commission going on Advantage the first time, residual. Pre-need insurance in their 50s and 60s is a higher commission. They can spread it over 3 or 5 years. Single pay is half the commission of a multi-pay. So just remember that. If you want 20% or higher, you gotta do 3, 5, or 10 years. Single pay is half that of the multi-pay, so it's like 10%.
Okay.
Based on age. So always go 3 years minimum. Try to get them to do the 3 years minimum. But, so we have that, and then we have long-term care insurance that we're learning, that we're gonna learn. Hey, you know, your parents are gonna have to pay for assisted living. Are you paying for it? Who's paying for the assisted living? Are they paying for it? You know, do you have long-term care insurance? Do they have long-term care insurance? No. Yes. Do you? Well, let's get some on you. So you can do some financial planning at this point for the younger generation. But we get the lead when they move into the assisted living. Now we can do other things. Now, if they get into assisted living and they need help and they run out of money, let them know. Like, hey, if they're running low, let us know, and we can get work on the state Medicaid plan down the line. That's another thing we can work. But just in general, doing the marketing every week and getting those referrals from referral sources every week, just because you're being their friend. Now you sources you need. I say 10 a week, 2 a day. You had 10 places referring someone every week. That's 10 a week. You know, I'm not good at math, but I think that's like 40 a month. Now you're looking at like 600 a year. So that's like 180 a year in annual income, plus, you know, about 150 a year in residual, because you're gonna lose about 20%. So you'll be at, what?
Is that like a whole separate commission if you switch them from Medicare to Medicaid, or would it just
No.
continue it?
So we don't get paid for putting people on Medicaid. Medicaid will just pay their assistance for living, their assisted living, home, or a caregiver.
There are D-SNP dual special need plans, Medicare, Medicaid.
Yeah.
Right? Which
Special
I'm going to
Medicare
get a
plans.
couple people to sign up on today,
So
right? So it's the same commission, right? It's $300 a year roughly, right? It's just, they're no longer have enough finances for
Right.
other issues, right?
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, it's